Yo, what's going on? It's Someone That's No One, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about a little connection that I often see in the psychedelic experience, a type of fear that can essentially be defined by Lovecraftian horror, a subgenre of horror inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, a writer from the early 1900s. You may be familiar with the monster Cthulhu, as it has been somewhat heavily popularized, but this and many other horrors that have inspired tons of works was written by Lovecraft. So much so that he has his own genre named after him. Now within psychedelics, I think it can be common for some experiences to play out in a similar way, especially with an experience that floors you. But we're going to open the discussion a bit on this relation and just bring some more understanding and awareness to what can happen in our trips. Cosmicism. So what exactly is Cosmicism? Cosmicism in Lovecraftian horror focuses on elements that are beyond our normal understanding. It focuses more on that which we cannot conceive, that which is beyond our grasp and control. It focuses on a reality, if immersed deep enough, it would cause a normal person to go mad. It is very science fiction in a sense, but also objectively nihilistic. It often will bring to light the insignificance of our human reality, doing so more on a galactic or interdimensional scale. It can focus on knowledge that would be incomprehensible to us, one of these things being non-Euclidean geometry, which is often portrayed in Lovecraft's work and would drive a person insane if they were exposed to some of it. Another incomprehensible theme in Lovecraft's works is depictions of the Akashic records. In a few stories, he describes something similar, which, if you don't know, the Akashic records are thought to be records that contain all information of existence, past, present, and future. Think all human experiences and all experience that lies beyond us in this giant catalog. Cosmicism typically goes against what most religions conceive reality to be, as Lovecraft was an avid atheist, and rather, we are subject to the cosmic shift of the universe at any time, and that anything we do, anything we come up with, and conceive really, has no importance to that greater wisdom of the cosmic shift. There's no such thing as good or bad in Cosmicism, only indifference, and leaving things up to be simply what they are in their truest form. Things simply are what they are, and cosmic horror focuses on things that are beyond humanness, the reality we have no influence on. Cosmic horror is about things that we don't know the purpose of, we can't conceive the purpose of, and that fear of the unknown and inability to do anything about it. But I think this take from Lovecraft explains it well. Now all my tales are based on the fundamental premise that common human laws and interest in emotions have no validity or significance in the vast cosmos at large. To me, there is nothing but puerility in a tale in which the human form, the local human passions and conditions and standards, are depicted as native to other worlds or universes. To achieve the essence of real externality, whether of time or space or dimension, one must forget that such things as organic life, good and evil, love and hate, and all such local attributes of a negligible and temporary race called mankind have any existence at all. Only the human scenes and characters must have human qualities. These must be handled with unsparing realism, not catchy penny romanticism. But when we cross the line to the boundless and hideous unknown, the shadow-haunted outside, we must remember to leave our humanity and terrestrialism at the threshold. Psychedelic relation and difference. So I'm sure some of you already spot right away how the themes of cosmicism can be present within the psychedelic experience. Now it often will depend on what substance you're taking, what dosage, and where you are with your mindset and setting. Personally, lower doses like a tab or a couple grams of shrooms may simply spring up some related thoughts, while stronger doses and substances like DPT, DMT, 5-MeO-DMT, salvia can easily immerse you in a world of cosmicism. The sheer power and natural themes that can come up on a psychedelic substance can be enough to invoke cosmic horror in one. Certainly, I think most of us who ventured far with psychedelics can say that it simply can shake you to the core by the vastness of the other, that which is incomprehensible to humans. A psychedelic experience can seemingly show you the inner workings of everything, the inner workings of this planet, the inner workings of your life and every decision you make, the inner workings of the universe, and how it's all bound together, and how really we have no control in the matter. Psychedelics can take you to what feels beyond this reality, what is beyond this dimension. You can experience higher states of geometry and manipulations of time that transcend our understanding. This experience alone can be terrifying for some, and it very well connects to Cosmicism. Beyond that base, though, you can end up experiencing a multitude of scenarios, entities, and plot lines that very well may end up having a cosmic theme. Now, psychedelics are far from being a trip of just cosmic horror. That's why this section is marked as a difference as well. In fact, I would say that it can depend on your perception and take during the experience that very well may determine whether what you experience is of fear or not. It really can depend on the person. But generally, psychedelics more so lean towards themes of harmony and unity within the universe, rather than focusing on our insignificance. Our impact certainly can be felt as minuscule from an experience, but psychedelics too offer more than just that perception of life. Often, if trips do end up with cosmic themes, people can view it as a learning experience and as something that was meant to happen, rather than looking back at it as just a horror encounter. The prominence potential for cosmic horror to be present in trips is real, and I think should be respected, as really, the grand scope of existence is far more than what humanism consists of. But psychedelics, I think, have much more potential for showing the beauty of it all, rather than the horror. Then again, it all depends. Trips can certainly go the other way as well. But even then, Cosmicism itself is objective in a sense. It aims to treat things as they are, and I say the psychedelic experience does the same, showing reality for what it really is. I think the biggest difference comes from its intent. Lovecraft and the entire genre of Lovecraftian horror often intend to invoke the feelings of Cosmicism, while psychedelics won't necessarily encompass these feelings. Examples. So I want to bring up a couple examples from H.P. Lovecraft and what exactly inspired this genre, and compare it to some takes from the psychedelic experience to really illustrate this relation. So starting with Lovecraft, often he would tie in themes of science fiction, mysticism, and fantasy within his stories to really get the point across of the foreign. A story I read that stands out quite a bit is called He, where a mysterious man shows an ability to transcend time to old New York, but quickly it turns from that to an incomprehensible cluster of realities that you might expect to find on a strong trip. And as he snarled the phrase under his breath, he gestured anew, bringing to the sky a flash more blinding than either which had come before. For full 3 seconds, I could glimpse that pandemoniac sight, and in those seconds, I saw a vista which will ever afterward torment me in dreams. I saw the heavens vermeous with strange flying things, and beneath them, a hellish black city of giant stone terraces with impious pyramids flung savagely to the moon, and devil lights burning from unnumbered windows. And swarming loathsomely on aerial galleries, I saw the yellow, squint-eyed people of that city, robed horribly in orange and red, and dancing insanely to the pounding of the fevered kettle drums, the clatter of the obscene kratala, and the maniacal moaning of muted horns whose ceaseless dirges rose and fell undulantly like the waves of an unhallowed ocean of bitumen. Now to bring up a psychedelic example. This is coming from a DMT experience titled Cosmic Torture by Candy Flip Saint 123. Now with something like DMT, it can be easy to feel what cosmic dread is because of its intensity, its ability to pull one out of oneself, and one's inability to really do much but submit to the experience. It was exhausting in the extreme, and at one point I thought, am I almost done? I breathed now no longer. The thought was that I actually managed to give up all control, and after that happened, so did the worst case that I could see. I don't think I could have imagined anything worse either, since some of it has never been in my mind. My body was set on fire by cosmic chaos. All colors, energies, elves, things, entities, or whatever flew through my body over and over again. There was a burning light ball inside the body that went exactly where it knew I would get the most pain. First the head, then the feet, the stomach, then the back. I was further tortured by this burning thing while these two elves stood there and walked from each side of my face. It was obviously not feet, but of the words, to be able to describe what, I still choose that body part as the most natural explanation. They stepped on me in what I call the eternity of this universe. While it burns, I can hear the sounds of things that are and laugh. The other Lovecraft example I want to bring up comes from a story called The Temple. In this short story, it's of a German naval force at sea. Some weird things happen, and the crew slowly start to turn insane, one by one, all until the only one left is the captain, with him then succumbing to insanity. It seems to be brought on by this ancient artifact. It isn't explained exactly how they turn mad, but it results with their U-boat ending up at the bottom of the sea by this ancient temple, suggesting that it was this power that brought the crew to their incomprehensible mental states. Upon opening my eyes, my first sensation was an overmastering desire to visit the rock temple, a desire which grew every instant, yet which I automatically sought to resist through some emotion of fear which operated in the reverse direction. Later incidents are chaotic. As I stared at the uncannily lighted door and windows, I became subject to the most extravagant visions so extravagant that I cannot even relate to them. I fancied that I discerned objects in the temple, objects both stationary and moving, and seemed to hear again the unreal chant that had floated to me when I first awoke, and overall rose thoughts and fears which centered in the youth from the sea and the ivory image whose carving was duplicated on the frieze and columns of the temple before me. And for the other psychedelic example, we're going to bring up a salvia experience. Now, salvia isn't a traditional psychedelic, but many of the trips tend to have a psychedelic nature. The trip we're bringing up is The Cosmic Meat Grinder by Greg E. I was staring at what I perceived to be ultimate reality, visible to me as a bright, rolling mass of identical, tightly packed, rounded rectangular bits of technicolor violet and yellow, sort of like a gigantic electric sunflower, with each seed pod an individual technicolor bit. This mass, an ocean of these bits, was vibrating or humming in a way that was disruptive to the cohesion of the identical rectangular bits that temporarily form physical things, including my body, and I felt my body being sucked or pulled or absorbed into the mass. There was a strong sensation of being torn, that I was being torn apart and ground into the ocean. The temporary, physical, earthly me was returning to the ocean of reality from which it had come. I was not ready to make the decision to leave the life I had known for over 50 years, but I didn't know if clinging to that life was a real option. My absorption into the sea was already starting. My particles were already being hummed loose from the form that was me and melting with the ocean of color, so I wasn't sure I could return to the physical world even if I tried, but I definitely, urgently wanted to try because I didn't feel ready to leave my life behind. Leaving my life was just too much of a change to accept on such short notice. I hadn't prepared. I felt myself dissolving bit by glowing bit, but I didn't know if any of me, the me I've known, would be retained in that ocean of pure existence, and I didn't want to abandon what I knew for something unknown, even if bliss was just on the other side of letting go. It was the unknown, more than anything else, that made me resist, surrender to my disintegration. And I want to throw in this last direct example from Lovecraft's infamous The Call of Cthulhu. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. So with these examples, and in general, I do feel that the psychedelic experience tends to be much more straightforward in terms of subjectiveness and feeling. With Lovecraft, his stories are often told more so as a story, and it's clear that much more literary devices and forms are used. But with these examples, I do think they all share themes of cosmicism, especially when it comes to being faced with the unknown and the grand scale of the universe. Conclusion. After all of this, I do think the connection is pretty clear. There can be an alignment of cosmic dread and fear that can arise in the psychedelic experience that is too the basis for a lot of Lovecraft's writings and the genre he inspired. Now, this video wasn't meant to glorify Lovecraft or the genre by any means, but rather just highlight how the genre can play as an active theme within the psychedelic experience at times. I highly doubt that psychedelics inspired Lovecraft, as he was known to be very anti-drug, and many of his viewpoints can seemingly go against the feelings of psychedelic interconnectedness, namely some of his views and takes that contain racism. Then again, Lovecraft literally has a story called Hypnos, where the characters take drugs and experience cosmic dread. And there are some out there that think some of Lovecraft's work is more like transcribed visions rather than pure imagination because of how connective and depictive they can be. But psychedelic usage had been going on far long before Lovecraft and his works came along. So I would say that this feeling of cosmic dread, the fear of the unknown, and the inability to do anything significant in the grand scheme is innate within us. I think that most of us would agree that this is just a natural fear we tend to come to face when we're presented under grand larger-than-life circumstances. Psychedelics themselves tend to be very awe-inspiring. They tend to reveal the workings of the universe in this visually abundant, complex manner. Especially when one dabbles in the likes of something strong, like DMT or salvia, this feeling can become ever more present. The philosophy of cosmicism and the psychedelic experience certainly align with its objectiveness. But in all, I do think that cosmicism can be a pretty significant piece when it comes to understanding the psychedelic experience. So we're going to end it there for today. If you guys did like this take on Lovecraftian horror, this relation, if you want to see more on this, want to see more videos like this, or whatever at all, let me know in the comments below and we can do that. If you have a trip report you want to see, send it in to NoOneSubmitReport@gmail.com or follow the link below. If you want to see exclusive reports every week, follow the Patreon link below. And if you enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow the socials, share the video. It's been Someone That's No One, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.